Welcome to episode 78 of the Creative Train podcast. Do you hate the sound of your voice? I'm going to take a look at this issue from a few different perspectives. One is purely technical, and the other has to do with attitude. I see it like the term voice can mean a few things. It can mean the actual tone and tenor of your vocalizations, but your voice can also be your outward-facing personality and your message, your vibe factor. I'm going to try to tell you everything I know about how to get a great sound for your voice for recording it as audio, but also how to craft, mold, and shape your thoughts about your inner dialogue and the words you express yourself with. All aboard. I'll go into the mental aspect of this first. In case you're not into the tech stuff, you won't have to skip to the end. Not everybody's an audio nerd like you and me. This episode was inspired, as all the others were, by a real conversation I had with someone about how to record and edit. What's the process for doing a podcast on the technical side? Because I was working at that time with them on their own podcast, showing them how to get it done, how to do it. And their comment at one point was something like, "Oh, I hate the sound of my voice when I hear it recorded. But of course, you must love the sound of your voice to do all this work using it." And I replied, "No, I don't love my voice. I've grown accustomed to having to listen to it, though. I've learned the technical aspects of getting what I think are pretty good results and being able to replicate it over and over again. But I think my speaking voice is like a product to me, one which is appropriate in some scenarios and not in others. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Beyond the medium, what is the message you're trying to get across? Or what is your inner monologue working on, trying to tell you, revolving around? Do you resent that loop tape of inner monologue? Like, have you grown tired or resentful of having that same list of things in your brain? There is a lot to be said for mental purging, like actually doing the things you said you will do. Whether it's a creative project or finally emptying out the recyclables from the back seat of your car, when we let these things occupy our thoughts day after day, there is a resentment that builds up as we allow those nattering thoughts to take root in our minds. And the solution is really quite simple. Make a list and start crossing things off, right? No sweat. Or is there something deeper? You betcha. I get loops of conversations with my late wife stuck in my head. We had a great relationship on a few levels, but on one very fundamental level, we were like oil and water. I saw the signs early, but ignored them. But she became a very manipulative, self-centered, textbook narcissist, to the point where she would make a point of reminding me daily that she was the only one who should be doing the thinking, that I, as a man, simply was not smart enough to decide something as simple as if the grass needed to be cut or not. She's done all kinds of courses on everything. I've done nothing. I don't know anything. That was the daily routine. And this impacted our creative relationship in such a way that I shut myself down both emotionally and creatively for the last more than a decade of our relationship. And there are some seriously deep roots to those feelings. Although there's no need for them to remain in my mind, sometimes I catch myself doing one of those once forbidden things and the tape starts rolling again. That's a voice. This isn't one of those things I can simply cross off a list of my to-do items. I have to work really hard at this every single day to keep myself on the proverbial rails. Usually I find a creative distraction helps, or even just coming up here to my studio and with a dusting cloth and cleaning guitars does a lot of good. I dealt with this in much more detail, great and gruesome detail even, in a previous episode called Toxicity in Creative Partnerships. Check that one out if you want to know more about that. If you're an artist who does your own social media, accounting, marketing, bookings, and all that other fun stuffs, you have those phrases and terms and adjectives and hopefully engaging descriptions at the ready in your mind for when somebody asks you, oh, what kind of art do you do? Or what kind of music do you play? Or what's your favorite dish to cook? This is something we can totally come to resent in those times when we grapple with the dreaded imposter syndrome. Those times when all the hype we've created about ourselves seems to be nothing more than a lie. This particular voice, your inner voice, is very easy to hate at times, but it's a voice. So how do you keep it from getting that way? I wish I had the magic bullet to put that beast down, but I don't. My solution for me, that seems to have worked the best for me, is I treat my house like a museum of sorts. Not a mausoleum, a museum. All the walls are filled with art. Every window has something of stained glass in it. And there are musical instruments in every room, even the bathroom. When my inner voice turns to those darker moments I mentioned earlier, I look around and kind of force myself to be reminded that the imposter syndrome or self-doubting is an illusion. It's a lie. It doesn't instantly snap me out of it, but it goes a long way to quieting that voice and eventually silencing it again. It does take work, like actual effort, to overcome these things. To silence the voice that only brings you down, or to revel with the voice that knows the truth about your awesomeness. It's a balancing act between keeping a healthy, positive self-image and letting your ego run amok. So what about your actual speaking voice, the one you want to record? Can we work on that too? Yep. There's lots of reasons why your voice sounds so different when it's recorded. First is that you hear yourself day to day primarily through bone conduction in your head and the resonance of your chest. Your ears do tell you a lot about the environment you're in. You know, the room size, if the surfaces are reflecting sound back at you. But most of your perception of your voice as you speak doesn't really come from your ears. Also, you would be hearing your voice through speakers of some sort. And depending on the size and quality of those speakers, there might be very little or no low frequency response. That sound we call chest voice. It feels like a disembodied version of yourself. Also take into account the quality of the microphone, your positioning relative to it. These are all huge factors in recording voice and instruments. And studio engineers spend years learning to master this. The mic I usually use for this podcast is a Shure SM7B. No sponsorship here. You know, one of those big black ones with the big foam thing on the end. You see them on all the podcast videos. They're very common for voice work because they sound amazing, but they are also very expensive. But today, for full transparency, if you've noticed my voice sounds a little different, I've been using a knockoff of a very high-end mic. I got this one for $29 off Temu because I wanted to know if they were any good. I mean, what's the loss at that point? I got two different kinds, and I had to send one back because its own self-noise made it unusable. So with a bit of EQ and some practice on how to position myself with this mic, I think I'm getting an okay sound with it. It took me about 10 minutes of moving around the mic or moving the mic around, angling it differently. And I'm being careful not to move from that sweet spot now, as you should with any microphone. Right now, I'm kind of like the width of my hand, like the width of my palm, from the pinky edge to the thumb edge, away from the mic. And I have one of those windscreen pop filter things in front of it. If you're curious, it's a knockoff of a Neumann TLM 103, right down to the little red square badge, or diamond-shaped, whatever you want to call it, badge on the microphone. Sounds all right for $30. But this goes to show you that you don't need a $700 microphone and a $2,000 preamp to get good results. This $29 mic is plugged into a tube preamp, which cost me $150 in 2006. It's running into a $300 audio interface and into a computer I bought off Amazon as a refurb model from HP for around $300. There are heaps and loads of videos out there showing you how to set up stuff for a podcast, demonstrating various microphones and techniques and all the gadgets you can get to go along with them. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm merely saying that if you don't like the sound of your recorded voice, you should work on the techniques of mic positioning first, and especially treating your room to dampen reflections off of hard surfaces like bare walls or wood floors. Even the tabletop your mic might be on has to be dampened somehow. I always use a mic stand for this kind of work here. It's sitting on the floor with a cradle to isolate it a little bit. But if I'm doing online music lessons and such, I have a little mic on a tripod that I have in front of me beside my camera. And something as simple as putting that tripod on a small hand towel mitigates the reflections off my desk surface. And it goes a long way to improving the sound of my delivery, whether I'm just speaking or playing a guitar or something like that. It doesn't matter with digital instruments because they're plugged into the computer. But that desktop, you might not think that it's going to do anything, but it does. It can ruin things a little bit for you. Not everybody notices, but I think when people are accustomed to hearing bad audio through a laptop speaker or something like that on Zoom, and we meet up for the first time online, I would say probably 75, maybe even more, 75% of people comment on my audio and they ask how I achieved my setup. And I'll tell them, I'll show them, like, it's not a mystery. It's nothing expensive or fancy. It's just some practice getting the most out of the gear that I have. If you are one of those folks who still doesn't like the sound of your voice, no matter what, try to change your thinking about listening to it. I listen to myself all the time, editing things. I've recorded a bunch of ads for radio, web ads, and I even narrated an audiobook for Audible. So I have to be super critical about how I listen back and make proper edits. And that has, in turn, very much changed my approach to even how I speak to people at a store or something. I'm so much more aware of enunciation, breathing patterns and accents and meter and cadence. Sometimes these edits that I do take hours, and sometimes it just comes together quick as a job, start to finish. But I don't love my voice. I don't hate it either. I think of it as a tool, one which I had to practice a lot at to get good at using, and one which I'm proud to say that I can make some money with it too. There is no thing that I was particularly blessed with. I don't have special tools that I have and you can't get. It's just practice. Go ahead, buy the expensive microphone. I have more than a few of those. But you really don't need one. You want one. It's not mandatory before you start work. Between learning the craft of speaking, the tech stuff that goes with the recording process, and keeping a healthy attitude about who and what you are as an artist or creator, your most confident and positive inner voice will come out in your speaking voice. You don't have to put on an act or pretend to be something that you aren't. Your authenticity is the first thing your listeners will get when they listen. Whether you are in front of a classroom or an audience in a theater or behind a cheap mic like me right now, remember that your voice comes from within. Your voice comes from within. Not from within your mouth, but the mind and the heart. If you are speaking honestly and openly, it will come across in your voice. Not just in the tone, but the cadence and the overall delivery. Your vibe factor will shine through if you let it. There's your pep talk. Now go get to work. So that was kind of a weird topic to write about because it's things that I struggled with, talking about the inner voice versus my actual speaking voice that I have to work with all the time, recording it. And I hope that if you also struggle with those kind of things, that you can find some maybe remedy or solace in listening to what I said there. It's not anything that can be completely eliminated, but you can find ways to deal with it. Sometimes, you'll hear yourself sing or speaking recorded, and you'll go, hey, wow, I did that. That's pretty cool.